faculty meeting I was in a number of years ago, and one of my colleagues was resistant to multimodal texts, and his main argument was that the students are going to know more about technology than him, so he didn't feel comfortable being the person teaching those type of assignments. And the answer kind of stuck in my head, because when you start doing those type of assignments in like freshman composition, you always run into a situation where, yeah, some kids really know what they're doing, but then others seem to get lost or seem to struggle. So I kind of wanted to see if he was right or not. So I wanted to know, these kids who are walking around, as I say in the article, they're walking around with a computer in their pocket, but what are they doing with that technology, and how much information do they have? And the other reason is my background in usability. So, I do a lot of work with usability. That was what I studied a lot in grad school. And of course, one of the things you learn doing that work is get to know your users as much as you can, because there's no way to make a usable product if you don't know who you're making it for. So in building, those type of pedagogies, I really wanted to know who my users were. What were they doing? I think the main thing I hope people get out of it is the idea that to understand the students that you're working with, you really got to talk to them. We can gather all this data, we can read all this stuff from these national studies, and we can look at Pew Institute research, and we can look at all this stuff, and we can see nationally what people are doing. But the only way that we can really understand what our own students are doing is to go ask them. So, not taking national trends as the be all end all and exploring the local context is, I think, important in any pedagogical approach, really. So I hope, other people, will go do it, we'll go explore their own local context just to see what the students are doing, because the assignments I developed, they work based on who my users were and who my students are, because I do have students, because I know this because of the studies that I've done, who are uncomfortable with technology. There's many of them who didn't have a computer growing up, even a world where we expect people to grow up with technology, but a lot of the students here didn't. I hope, people do their own studies. They get to know their students. On two things. I'm working on a piece about getting students to engage public rhetorics through document design. So what I have my professional writing students do is they self-publish zines. So we collectively write a bunch of stuff, and then each student gets to produce their own zine, get it published, not published, but printed, because they're paying $5, if that, small scale, small batch publications that they can then print out and send out. So I'm talking about, the why I do that, how to do that type of thing. And the other thing I'm working on is a digital textbook. So I'm working on it's a basic web content thing. So focusing on things like Markdown, HTML, CSS. And what I'm trying to work on is the educational aspects. So there'll be readings about how to work with content, style issues, stuff like that. But then there's going to be the learning aspect of it. It's going to have videos, and it's going to have live HTML, Markdown, CSS editors, so that students can practice inside the textbook. And before we go forward, I think we really need to look at the last couple of years, especially from a composition standpoint. We got to figure out, how did this actually go? Did it work? Did it not work? Did having to adjust to blended classrooms on the fly, or doing things synchronously, asynchronously, how did it work? What do we have in our pedagogical stockpile that worked in that situation, didn't work in that situation? And I think we really need to do some reflective work before we can move forward, because I can't say I expect it to happen again, but I think it would be nice to be prepared if we do have to all of a sudden shift again. And all of a sudden we're shifting to online platforms again, we're shifting to different things, because we have a lot of pedagogy about online teaching. We have a lot of pedagogy about, blended classrooms and stuff like that, but it'd be nice to see what worked, what didn't work, what what do we even as a field take for granted as something that just simply didn't work? Those of us who were doing the weird sort of blended thing had students who were sleeping in our classes while the other students in the classroom were there. And if you talk to the students, some of them really liked it. Some of them really hated it. It'd be interesting to find out what they hated. Right. And I think maybe from that, maybe that's where a future something can open up. My wife and I are stuck on Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I don't know if you're familiar with that one, but we're re-binging it for the I don't know how manyth time, simply because we need comedy in our lives. It's not for everyone, of course, but it suits us, and just having that humor, that thing to at the end of the day to kind of laugh at. I think that's needed right now.